Welcome to the tour of my 20-year-old truck camper. This is an Arctic Fox M860. It's my 4x4 cabin I bring into the backwoods in northern Minnesota every single weekend. And I figured I'd showcase some of the amenities and upgrades that I've made to this camper along the way, so it's as comfortable as it is. One thing's for sure, this is no pavement princess, and if you've been following the channel, then you know that we take this thing down some pretty sketchy trails. I think what we'll do though, start this tour off inside. I bought this truck camper back in 2017 and it had a few problems. I paid $6 for it, but had some water damage, delamination up by the front window, some delamination on the back wall, and I also had to replace that front nose cap. I skinned it with aluminum, fixed the delamination with that 2-part Westbond epoxy resin. That's been holding up well. The key with these old truck campers, maintenance. That's the big thing to remember. And that's why this weekend I'm at my nephew's shop, because as soon as we're done with this video, we're going to go out and check all the seals. Let's start the tour up in the overhead cab because that's where we spend most of our time. If you're looking at buying a truck camper, I definitely suggest that you spend a little bit of time up here in the overhead cab. Sunday mornings, this is where I'm at, either looking out the window, drinking a coffee, laying in bed, watching TV. Having a north-south bed, that makes a big difference too. My last camper was a Mountain Star, and Mandy and I would have a hard time laying east to west. Someone had to sleep in the back corner against the wall, super uncomfortable, and then let's just hope that who's ever against the wall doesn't have to get up in the middle of the night to get out to use the bathroom. This layout right here with the north-south, this is the perfect layout for me anyways. And I love all the storage up here. These cabinets, I have clothing, extra blankets, I have a medical supply kit in here, towels, a lot of storage. And on this side, I've got all of my rain gear over here in this long cupboard. This is where I store some of my tools for small games hunting. Plus, I have a toolbox, DVDs, and the TV's mounted right there. I have a number of people have asked, how am I able to stream services when I'm out in the middle of the woods? Well, I have a Samsung Smart TV, and if I don't have cell phone service, I don't have a hotspot, so I use a DVD player. And the DVD player and the television, they're powered off of this 300-watt inverter that I have in the cupboard. That way, I don't have to start my generator or run a power station in order to watch the TV. I can just pull off my house batteries, and the 300-watt inverter doesn't take much power at all. Next, let's talk about this refrigerator. This is the factory Norcold refrigerator that came with the camper, so it's 20 years old, and it very rarely ever gets shut off. On the weekdays while I'm at work, I have it plugged into 120 volts, and when I'm out on my adventures, I run it off of propane. I even run it off propane when I'm driving down the road, and I've never had a problem. The only thing that I've ever done to this refrigerator is just some cosmetic stuff. I just glued that piece of metal on there so I have a place to put the magnets, and then I put that mirror up on the top. If you're a longtime viewer, you might remember it was a couple of winters back in the Home Depot parking lot where we took the vanity out of the bathroom, grabbed the mirror out of it, and that's what we put in the refrigerator. Haha! Look at that! Don't force it. Time flies by. I mean, that was a year and a half ago, which reminds me that it's been almost 2 years since we modified this dinette. You remember we took the backs off of the chairs to kind of make it feel like we had a little bit more room in here. I think it worked. Welcome to the point of no return. So let's get our first before and after look of what we've accomplished. Well, I think this made quite a bit of a difference. Walking in, having full access from the door, this will be great. You can see that that was a really good upgrade. Not only is it easier when you're walking into the camper with the slide in, but now that the slide is out, it opens up the whole window. The other thing it does, makes loading the refrigerator full of food so much easier. Before, this whole area right here was all blocked off, and it just made it a pain to load up the refrigerator. I know the fridge is looking a little bit empty, but I just cleaned it out this afternoon. I've also done some cosmetic upgrades here in the kitchen. When I bought this camper, it just screamed 1990s. We've got sponge painted walls, oak colored cabinets, gold fixtures everywhere, so I had to make a few changes. I started by putting in a backsplash. I put this peel and stick tile up there probably 7 years ago. It's holding up really well. I did put some of this oak trim going around it as well to match the cupboards. And then on the bottom half, it's a clear sheet of plexiglass. And what that's doing is it just makes it easier for me to wipe down if I'm frying anything on the stove. The stove used to have this white folding cover on it, and I never liked the way it looked. Plus, when you folded it up, it didn't allow full access to the stovetop. So I bought this wooden block from Camco. It's got these rubber feet on it that grab the grates to the stove. This never goes anywhere when I'm driving down the road. Then I also did this faucet upgrade. I bought it from Menards. It's a residential faucet, and I like it because when I'm washing dishes, it just makes it easier. Pretty self-explanatory, especially if you've ever installed one of these yourself. The best way to do these is just to start drilling. I've had a number of questions about the AccuRite temperature gauge that I have in the camper, and it looks really good in here. It doesn't work the best. I bought it at Ace Hardware. Why I don't like it and why I wouldn't suggest it is because it shuts off so fast. If I'm sitting at the dinette and I want to see what the temperature is, I have to get up, push the button, and it's only going to stay on for about 15 seconds before it shuts off. I've had a few friends that have never been inside of a truck camper come in here. They're always blown away with how much living space there is in the 6.5 foot bed of a truck. With that being said, though, after some time, you start to realize how limited you are on space. This Arctic Fox does a really good job of utilizing all the little nooks and crannies and corners. This cupboard right here has a pull-out pantry. And it's these kind of ideas that make being in a truck camper for extended periods of times just a little bit more comfortable. Down below that, there's another cupboard. That's where I keep the percolator and some pot holders. After a little while, though, you start to find a place for everything. I got my pots and pans in the oven. I keep my bread and coffee up in the microwave. This cupboard is where I store all of my cooking supplies. And then over here, I got all my plates and cups. There's not a lot of storage space for silverware in here. This is it, and it's tiny. So I mounted a magnetic strip on the back wall, and that's where I hang a lot of utensils. And it's really strong too. I've never had anything fall off this magnet while driving down the road. And then on the back wall, I just use these magnets with hooks, and that's how these items stay up there. Now these will fall. Yeah, give me like 30 minutes and I'll get this place cleaned up. What a mess. And that was the day that I busted the rear window out of the truck camper, going down some of them sketchy trails. But the one thing you'll notice, this coffee pot and toaster, it never moved. This stuff always stays in place. And it's not being held down by anything. I've had a lot of people ask me about these Bofang UV5R radios, and to be honest, I don't use them to their full potential. I basically listen to the Weather Channel.
At Brainerd, it was cloudy. The temperature was 40 degrees, and the relative humidity 86%.
There's some additional storage over here on the dinette side. In here, I've got my fire starters, some bowls, kitchen supplies basically. This step right here actually folds up. And this is where I got some pie irons. I got a folding table. And that is my junk drawer. Here's a good tip. This cubby, it's heated. And during the winter months, I don't have water in the camper, so I don't take showers. But I keep my body wipes in here. They're nice and warm all winter long. And then the junk drawer. just a spare inverter and a bunch of parts. Mandy's got a flat iron in there, some tools, multimeter, extra flashlights, your basic junk drawer. Speaking of showers, let's check out this wet bath. I've owned 5 truck campers over the last 20 years. This is the first one that's had a shower and toilet. I don't think I'd buy another camper if it didn't have it. There's nothing better than winding down at the end of the night, taking a hot shower. And when it's 100 degrees outside, you're full of sweat, full of bug juice, you smell like campfire. Hot shower, you sleep like a baby. The toilet situation, the first couple of winters, I was using one of these foldable toilets from Walmart. And I would just set it up here in the kitchen. But I never liked the idea of dropping a deuce right next to the kitchen stove. So I took another tip from the van lifers. So I started using my toilet as a bucket, and I line it with a paper bag, put some paper towels in there. That's where I do the business. When I'm all done, tied in a knot, I got a storage container on the back receiver hitch that I put the sewer hose in. I fill them up with the waste bags. We're good to go. A good tip, don't use any plastic bags. The Walmart ones, they're not going to cut it. I prefer these bags from Menards. They are pretty sturdy. I've got a 46-gallon freshwater tank plus the additional 6-gallon hot water heater. I found that I can take about 5 showers before that gray water tank is full. I don't have the opportunity to go out for a week and a half, 2 weeks at a time, but one day I will, and those big tanks are going to come in handy. I've done a few other upgrades to the camper, just making it a little bit more current. Back in 2004, they didn't have any USB plugs or anything like that, so I wired them directly to the fuse box and just placed them throughout the camper. Our black is the positive. Our white is the negative. So if we look at my circuit breaker box, it looks like I have 3 spare 12-volt circuits. I'm going to use the bottom circuit, and that's where I'm going to hook these plugs into. This is going to be our circuit breaker box. All of the 12-volt positives are right here. 12-volt negatives are coming off this neutral line. What we're going to do is we're going to hook to the very bottom lug, and that's going to be that spare that we're looking at. The negative, it's going to get attached up here. Let's get this done. I wired these in last year. There's 3 USBs on this one, 4 plus 2 USB-Cs there. And then I also added in a 12-volt plug right here. And I've used it for the air compressor before. It comes in handy every once in a while. And then you'll notice there's a 30-amp generator plug right next to the breaker box. The reason why I did that is because in the past I'd bring the power station outside if I wanted to power the camper. I got down to 44 last night. It's like 48 degrees right now though. It's warming up. I did have to turn the furnace on last night. I think it's 64 in here. But I started noticing that the house batteries were going down. So I had to put the power station outside, plug that in for a little while. I don't want to be running my generator or anything like that, being that there's people in tents out here. So I'm going to get some coffee made this morning. But in times of raining or when it's 40 below zero, I didn't want to put the power station outside. Now the power station sits underneath the dinette and I can plug it in at any time. We don't have to worry about the elements outside. I think that covers the inside of the camper. Now, if there's something that you want to see that I didn't show, just let me know down in the comments below. I think now we're going to get outside because I've had a lot of questions about the front generator basket, some of the different things I've done inside the truck, and I'll answer some of those questions. We'll start in the front of the truck and we'll talk about this ATV basket that I picked up from Harbor Freight. I think this rated at like 300 pounds. I've put close to 100,000 miles on this camper carrying the generator and a couple bundles of wood. I've never had any issues with it. One thing I do need to get are some of those anti-rattle clips because, yeah, I've had them on there before. They work really good. They hold this a lot tighter. I've taken the basket off for one reason or another and misplaced those rattle clamps. So the receiver itself, got that off of E-Trailer. It took about 45 minutes to install, and I've had that on there for probably 6 years, and I wish I had a video on it, but I don't. It was really easy to install with just basic hand tools, and the hardest part was cutting the hole in the plastic fairing, making sure that you got that just right. The generator's from Harbor Freight as well. The Predator 3500 watt unit. It's really quiet. It's really dependable. I've had people ask me, how many hours does it have? And I'd say, I have no idea. I'd never installed an hour meter on it, but someone down in the comments told me that if I just push this button right here, it'll show. 664 hours. That's pretty cool. I got to thank whoever told me about that. And if you watch the channel, well, then you've seen how this generator has been a lifesaver when it's 30, 40 below zero, because it always starts even when the truck doesn't. I still think I'm going to start the generator. What's the chances this will start? It is so cold out. Not the first time. Not the second time. The basket on the back, that's another Harbor Freight special. I've got the grill over on one side, and the other side's got this tote. This is where I keep my sewer hose. In the wintertime, this is where I put the trash. Now, it looks like I cleaned out a fire pit the other day, but I forgot to grab the cans. But even more important than carrying garbage, what this basket does is it transfers the weight from the top step down these bars to the bottom of the basket. That way, I can stand on the top of this step, jump up and down, and the weight is being carried by the bottom of the basket right there. Remember, I weigh 280 pounds. Watch this bottom step. Normally, if I'm gonna jump, there'd be some flex here, but all of the weight's gonna be transferred through those support brackets down to the basket. There's no flex in that step at all. And these are the Stone Go steps from Torque Lift. When I bought the camper, it came with a set. I took them off right away. They were just this generic scissoring style step that pulled off and you carried them in the camper when you were traveling. These stay attached to the truck and they're built really, really well. The last set of steps that I had, the reason why I got rid of them is because I thought they were gonna fold up on me. These steps, I haven't had any issues with. I've had a few people asking about the modifications that I've done in the back seat of the truck. So the truck itself is a 2015 Chevy Silverado. It's a 3,500 one-ton truck, short bed, single rear wheel. I do have the diesel engine, but that's not a requirement for hauling around a truck camper. Let me first start by getting all of this cleaned out of here, then I'll show you what I did. The truck originally had a 60-40 split bench in the back, so I took the 60 out, I left the 40 in, so we still got one seat over there. Removing that back seat really does give a lot more room, and that way I can slide the e-bike in here. On this back wall, just carpeted a piece of plywood, but I mounted this 1100 watt inverter and also the battery charger back here. Traveling with an e-bike or a folding kayak's definitely not a necessity. Neither is an inverter or battery charger. But the one thing that I recommend everybody have is going to be a toolkit. Heavens knows I've needed mine. This is my brake caliper right here. It's not connected to anything. The truck just shut off. I'm gonna be honest with you though, at this point, I don't even care. We're having a heat wave, tropical heat wave. Hopefully it wants to play nice. I made it into Aiken and they got the part I needed. Let's get this thing fixed. Do me a favor, one of you guys go inside the camper and jump up and down. Thank you, I found it. So here's where we're at now. Battery's dead. This is gonna be an issue. So here's the drain plug, and where the crack is right here, and you can see the leak. We'll deal with this tomorrow. It's getting late. I'm just done for today. I mean, it's just a truck. If it was made by a man, it can be fixed by a clown, so whatever. Well, good news. I'm still the only one that's stupid enough to come out here. 25 below weather. Well, we're back at home. That can only mean one thing. I just ran out of time. Weekends are never long enough. Mondays, I'm back to work, and now I got to get this video out to you guys tomorrow. We're going to pull an all-nighter. If you'd like to see more information about the truck or the truck suspension upgrades, I'm going to put a link at the end of this video. I've done a great video showing you all of the suspension upgrades that I've done to the truck. One question I'm going to answer really quick, because I just noticed it when I walked in here, is that strap. A lot of people ask me what it's there for, and all that does is hold the slide tight against the camper when I'm out there on those trails. And the last thing that I'm going to cover, because it's getting dark out and I need to get this video done, is going to be regarding an email that I get a lot. And it's, what's the bare minimum that I could pick up to go out and make these weekend adventures like you do? Well, that's pretty simple. A little bit of motivation. That's it. Here's what I mean. You could have a 20-year-old camper, a 200,000-mile truck. That's what works for me. You could go out and buy yourself a new truck and a new camper if that's what you can afford. You can be like Matt Tolbers from Tolbers Camping. He does what I do, right in an SUV. Guys like Jack from Tiny Cabin Life, he's out in the woods finding sheds that are standing on public land or using tents, and he's got campers that he builds. You could be like Larry from Work Less, Enjoy Life More. He's rocking the same type of setup with probably a 30-year-old camper. The one thing that you need, though, is motivation. Getting out there is the hardest part, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. Because if this was hard, I wouldn't waste my only days off to make videos for YouTube. I absolutely love it. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. We're going to do this again next week. Let me know if seeing a maintenance video is something you would want. Sometimes the maintenance videos don't always perform, but you know, I need to get the maintenance done. And it would be nice to have a video for the algorithm, but just let me know if it's something you'd be interested in watching. I don't know. We'll do this again next Tuesday. We'll figure something out. Maybe the Tuesday after that. Who knows? Until then, be kind, be honest. We'll see you down the road. Oh, I gotta go to bed.